Hi, this is Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and this is the Dawg Pound.
Yeah, I was like, should we clap? What do we got to figure this out? I mean, we're 50 episodes in now, right? We got to figure this out.
We need something. I mean, I try to do the most dramatic opening, and still, we need a little more than that.
You know what I heard in my head, Jim, was that Munsters theme song, right? Was it the original Addams Family where it's like creepy and they're kooky? When you did that, I was like,
yeah, we need something like that. Anyway, this is the Dawg Pound. And okay, I got my mischievous regular posse plus a couple guest panelists today, including my good friend April Simmons from the Horn Automotive Group. Hey kid, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Jim. I love being on the Dawg Pound with the friends. It's good times.
Okay, we're going to talk about advertising, marketing, what works, what doesn't work, what's a waste of money, what you need to be doing. And who better to do that from the Team Automotive Group in the Carolinas, my good friend, Matt Raymond. Hello, big guy.
How are you doing?
Having a good day. Everything going well with your weather over there?
80 degrees, loving it.
Fantastic. And I always say one of the most brilliant women in the universe. I'm talking about a car gal from the very beginning, my friend Jennifer Briggs.
Hey, glad to be here. I'm excited. I felt like when we did the last show on digital retailing, I thought we were going to do digital marketing. So I was so geared up to talk about some of these things, and I had to wait. So I'm happy now I get to.
Okay, well, digital marketing follows digital retail, and a lot of what we're doing today is digital retailing. We'll talk about that in a minute, but first, we got to get our resident curmudgeon. my good friend, where are you at today?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But it's good to be back, Jim. I think I missed last week. I think I did. So I'm back in full effect.
The king of reinsurance. Okay, marketing, advertising since the pandemic. We talk about traditional advertising is dead. April, you're with the Horn Automotive Group. We have 14 stores, I believe. What's working? What's good?
Well, so interestingly enough, when the pandemic first started, I had a kind of tale of two cities going on. We had half of my group that was like, stop all marketing, stop it all, everything must go. That instant panic of like, here comes 2008. And then I had the other half of the group going, no, step on the gas. We want to push forward. But okay, well, let's do what we normally do. Let's make decisions based on what's really happening. What are the facts, and not just go off of feeling. So immediately, I went into analyzing everything, what's happening. And this is kind of a trend that I've seen stay, but I think the reason it stayed has less to do with the pandemic and more to do with the inventory shortages. So what we're seeing is that customers are shopping just a little bit longer online. I saw less, last minute clicks happening and more social engagement, repeat customers. We started looking at cohort and saying, hey, these customers are still coming in. They're just coming in, maybe not immediately. So we just need to make sure we're staying in front of them. So we actually transitioned our marketing.
You're saying the time in market is longer?
Yeah, it is. It is. So it definitely is. And I think
slow you down a second on that. Is that because the prices are having a little sticker shock and they're shopping a little harder?
I don't think so. I think what's happening is that everyone realizes that it's a waste of money right now with the inventory shortages to do a mailer, for instance. Let's say I do a mailer. I've got half my stores right now that have 0 new cars on the ground right now. So what am I going to sell them? I'm going to spend a whole bunch of money to drive a bunch of people to come to my store and show them what? The concrete on the ground? I mean, that doesn't make much sense. So ultimately, I think what's happened is a lot of dealers are realizing, hey, this is the time to go build our brand. And we're going a little further up the funnel. Now, some are going way far up the funnel, some are kind of going mid funnel, but regardless, we're going up a little bit. Contrary, customers on the other side of the equation are like, well, crap, I don't know what to buy. Is gas going to be $2? Is it going to be $10? Do I look at EV? Do I consider this? What do I consider? So like consideration is like, looks like this right now. Right? Like everybody's all over the place, right? It's crazy. Like, so I think that customers are in a longer cycle now, not because they've necessarily changed, but they're just in flux of, I don't know what to do. And so because of that, we are seeing that buying cycle be a little bit longer. So from a marketing standpoint, we need to be talking to them sooner.
Okay, Matt Raymond, what are you experiencing?
So we didn't change anything on our end, right? We kept it as business as usual because for us, you know, and everybody can probably attest to this, but we get the whole world goes into ebb and flows on things like April was saying, right? Should I go EV? Should I not go EV? Should I do this? Should I do that? What do we know best? We know how to sell cars and we know how to service cars. And that was our method was we sell and service. We're in the automobile business or we're in the people business. We just happen to buy and sell automobiles is really kind of our slogan with it all. So we didn't change anything on that end. You know, to April's point, you know, would you run a mailer? No, because we don't have any new cars. We have some stores that don't have any new cars either. But for us, it was all about making sure that we had cars. So we went out to the auctions, we acquired vehicles, reached out to customers, acquired vehicles. And we've been blessed we went through 2 buy sells, us purchasing dealers during the pandemic. And so we were blessed to be able to go out and add these stores and then add more inventory.
Now you've added 7 or 8 stores almost overnight. I've watched Team Automotive grow from one dealership in Salisbury, North Carolina, to how many dealerships?
We're at 6 right now. If anybody's listening, they're selling, we're buying, just so everybody knows. But yeah, we, you know, and we share the inventory, right? Nobody can do it better than us within our organization of who do we want to sell to. So we have stores that stretch from the coast of the Carolinas all the way into the mountains, and we're able to move inventory around. Another huge thing is we have 2 dealerships right outside of military bases. Nobody in the military got laid off. So that was a blessing there for us is to be able to, you know, sell to the military members that needed vehicles. But like I said, it was business as usual. We changed some things around. I don't think I've said it already, but we brought all our marketing 100% in-house last month.
Okay, that's big. That's one of the reasons you're here, and I'm really pleased to hear that. I know your dealer very well. I've been friends with that family for 30 something years. And last time I had Kristen Dillard on, she said 2 things: we're hiring and we're buying. We're buying and we're hiring.
And now we are. And, you know, and for us, we're, you know, built all our marketing in-house. And, you know, you talk about what's working and what's not working. You know, what's not working is the old game of let's add 100 different widgets and see if the dealer or the BDC manager or whoever we throw in charge of managing these vendor partners can balance them. And that doesn't work. So what we did is we brought a lot of stuff in-house, and it has allowed us to you know, measure our data more accurately and really see what's working and not working. We have a saying around here that, you know, in God we trust, everything else there's data. So that's what we want to back up, you know, and for us, we've already seen just incremental growth in the fact that we have a pulse on everything. You know, there's not a 3-day, 5-day, 7-day turnaround when we need things done. We can get it done instantly. But to add to that, one of the things we said throughout the pandemic was at 6 stores, at 5 stores, even 4 stores, we're driving a cruise ship, and no cruise ship, well, hopefully no cruise ship makes a turn on a dime. You know, everything's a slow, methodical turn for them. So if we're going to operate like a cruise ship, we need to make slow, methodical turns, kind of slow down to speed up.
Yep.
Very good. Jennifer Briggs, pick it up.
Well, so very similar to, and actually, you know, I think about with my largest client that I work with, you know, engaged as an e-com director, which is unique. February we transitioned away from the major advertising agency that was working with a group of 30 companies and had brought it all in-house. So, we had that transition in February.
Is
So
that a
March
trend
1st.
around the country? Is everybody bringing it home?
Well, if they're not, like, this is what's hard, I think, to Matt's point where they were saying at 4 or 5 stores, 6 stores, at some point, the efficiencies there are worth it. Now, I wouldn't recommend that a single point, store or even a couple, because you're going to need to leverage the human resource hours of that agency. But it was just really ironic because we got a crash course because we went live 100% internal on March 1st, and then they shut down the state of Indiana on March 16th. So we actually felt like we were ahead of the game as far as reducing some expenses, and some of those unknowns. State of Indiana never shut down. Thankfully, both sales and service were considered vital businesses, but we did pull back in some areas. To April's point there, again, with more dollars, when everybody else was dumping their traditional spot, that made a lot of inventory come available at a very discounted rate. And so, looking at some of that brand recognition, but with other stores that I work with that didn't bring it internal, what we've seen is a lot more just expected results, which is weird because if you're one of my clients, we're already expecting a ridiculous ROI, but even more so. And across the country, on the other side of the house, Jim, not the consulting business, what we've seen, because we get to see insights into analytics for hundreds of dealers, is a dramatic reduction in paid search, of course. And I think the smart dealers were already cutting back because the auction efficiencies had really kind of gotten out of control, especially with new car campaigns and keywords. So we've seen some dealers slash 20, 30 grand in their paid budgets for digital media over the course of the last couple of years. And of course, they're still selling cars. Well, when they have them to sell.
Max, what are you seeing?
So, Jim, you're blessed, right? Because you have like real dealers come on your show, and these are like the 2%ers, And I almost feel like my mission is to explain to everybody that 98% of other dealers are not like that. Okay, so
what did they do, Max?
So they do the opposite. Everything is an autopilot. They're still advertising. They're still even lowballing. If you look at the used car advertising, if you go on Car Gurus or you go on cars.com, you can tell this is not a real price. You can tell, right? Because it's thousands below MMR, right? So in reality, right, this is the first time in my career where, as a dealer, you really don't have to worry about selling cars. You really don't. They're going to come and get the car from you if you have it, right? So maybe take the money you were planning on spending on advertising and reallocate it either on building the brand or just on improving processes.
Max, I was going to get to this, but you brought it up early.
I beat you to it.
It was just not that you beat me to it. It's not how much that you advertise, it's what you advertise.
Right.
What you're trying to achieve. And right now, I'm thinking advertising should be focused on acquiring technicians, acquiring employees, acquiring
service work,
inventory, and service work. So, service work is still there whether you have inventory or not. So we need to be advertising service. We need to be advertising. We need employees. We need techs, especially. We need services other than selling cars.
But be cautious, because just because service is always there doesn't mean there's hours to sell. So if you are going to divert any of your investments towards service, make sure you have a good conversation with your service manager or fixed ops director, whatever it is, to understand what type of business you're trying to drive. Unless all you're trying to do is get more VINs through your service lane so you can have a new acquisition source, which I strongly recommend you do. But other than that, because that can create a huge CSI issue back
a new
there.
acquisition source for what?
To buy the cars. Like, I don't care if we actually do them. Like, if I can get those VINs through my lane and I can buy them because we are preemptive.
So we need to use service as a bait and switch to buy their cars.
I mean, if you want to call it that, Jim. What I call it is, but listen, I used to do this. I mean, I came up in General Motors dealerships, for those of you who don't know me, who are notorious for hand raiser leads, right? Which you can't do anything with. So I came up with this back in, 2012 or 2011, maybe, when I became an internet sales manager. So what we did with those hand raiser leads was I built a discount code for an oil change. So we set up a free oil change. Our hard cost on that oil change on that line item on the RO immediately charged to advertising. So my service department wasn't out anything as far as a cost goes, right? They had the upsell opportunity on that free oil change. And then I had the hard cost hit me for advertising. And I tell you what, it was half the price is what GM was charging me for a paid lead. So what did I have to lose? We got a ton of people to come through. We got the VIN number, we got the home address, we got 2 phone numbers, an email, mileage, everything on those folks. You couldn't get that from a GM lead coming in those days. So it was a huge win for us, but we had the hours, we had the base, we had the availability to do it. If you do not, you are going to create a really sticky situation for yourself, both from a CSI standpoint and potentially a Google review standpoint. So just be cautious when you're diverting. Make sure it makes sense.
I'm going to say something that I don't want anybody else on the show to necessarily say, but I can say it. I always talk about the Cox companies. I talk about cars.com, Auto Trader, and I talk about sinking down in the tar pits, eating the last brown shriveled leaves off the trees. Let me tell you, lead providers. Are lead providers still relevant, or are they indeed sinking down in the tar pits, eating the last brown shriveled leaves off the trees? Matt Raymond, are the lead providers still relevant?
So I don't know if I want to use relevant.
Not for the 2%, right, Max?
Are we still
not in the low inventory environment?
Yeah. Are we still on them currently? We're on a couple of them, not all of them. But to kind of piggyback off what Jen was saying when it comes, and I can say this because I'm not at that store anymore. We ran a campaign back when Toyota was doing the frame recalls. And what I did is I paired up with the guy, and we were able to grab, VIN numbers through registration data and assume that certain VINs would have a frame recall. We sent out a $9.95 oil change to Tundra customers, Tacoma customers, and Sequoia customers. And we did a 40-mile radius. It cost me $1,500 to do this mailer. And these customers call up and go, hey, what's the catch? No, we're overstocked in oil filters. Oh, cool. I'll be right down. They'd come down. Every car had to be lifted, and we tapped that frame. And if that frame failed, we were putting it in the shop for a recall. We were getting people out of other PMAs. I'm probably going to get choked out for this one, but we were getting
statute of limitations over.
Right. That's why I'm saying it, because it's long in the past. But the whole idea was, we created a campaign to drive results. We have a saying here. Our fixed ops director, Anthony, says it: make the phones ring and the doors swing, right? Give people a reason to get their
ring and the doors swing. I love it.
Yeah. Get them here, get their car in, get a look at it. Like Jen said, get those VINs in the lane. But then also make sure you're prepared to prevent that CSI or that Facebook or that Google review from going to.
And it's springtime.
Let me go old school on you for a minute.
Okay, but I just want to piggyback on that to give them a tip, Jim, that will help. It's really important, real quick.
Jump in.
So it's springtime, and we're talking about how your inventory is light. So that means you have space on the lot. And I've done this before with recall campaigns. If anybody remembers some key fobs and some Chevy models back in the day, we rented tents and created temporary lanes for that work and put it out on the lot. So if you are going to do something like Matt's talking about or different things we're talking about, there are lots of things you can do to prepare outside of the brick and mortar, and you got space on your lot. So go for it. Sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Here we go. Back in the dark ages, when I was consulting the minority dealers for the Ford Motor Company. Now we're going to go back. I'm saying this was the 90s. And I was in El Dorado, Arkansas. And, I mean, don't go to El Dorado, Arkansas unless you live there, okay? I mean, I'm sorry. But anyway, I'm in El Dorado, Arkansas with one of the minority dealers when I had the Ford program. And I ran an ad in the paper when paper was prevalent. And the ad said, absolutely free. The headline was that big, absolutely free. No tricks, no come-ons, no gimmicks. Absolutely free. A free oil change up to 5 quarts and filter for any owner of a Ford Motor Company product, regardless of the year. Absolutely free. No tricks, no come-ons, no gimmicks. Absolutely free. Plus a 30-point mechanical inspection of your car. We booked the service department months ahead with these free oil changes. It was incredible. And the 30-point mechanical inspection was selling upwards of 2 hours per RO additional shop time. The 30-point mechanical inspection was a complete upsell. And I mean, that was so incredibly successful 25 years ago. Why would it not work today, April?
I think it can work today. I think though, like anything, where you're at matters. So here in the Phoenix Metro, we are growing. We have so many people moving here right now. We can barely keep up. So running a lot of service campaigns to drive additional people there, we're weeks out. I mean, you can't get a Ford oil change in the Phoenix Metro for 3 weeks at any store, anywhere. It's
so
not
giving it away for free wouldn't really work, would it?
bingo. So again, but that depends on where you're at, right? We can't keep up because we just have such an influx of people moving to our state right now. So that's part of it. But what we have done is a lot of, like Matt had said about the recalls. We do a lot of recall work, and a lot of our strategy is driving people to come in to get that stuff done.
Phoenix is growing. I mean,
it's insane. Like it's doing insane.
Out of California.
We're actually adding additional shifts in our service departments. I have some of my service departments now open till midnight, just because the need is there. I could honestly run 3 shifts if I could get people to do it. We could run 3 shifts right now and still keep everything busy all day, every day. So like the inventory, we don't really need to pay to drive service business right now. We just really don't. What we do need to work on, though, is making the most out of each service visit. And what I'm seeing is that in service, similar to sales, it's the low-hanging fruit, right? It's hard to get people to do what they don't have to do right now. And that's the part that's really my fear on the other side of this is once all of this kind of simmers back down a little bit, how are we going to go back and get our staff to do the things that they ultimately need to do to be successful? When right now,
the techs look at the job and see how many hours is on the job, and they go for the job that's got the hours on
it. 100%.
If it's a 5-hour job that in reality takes 20 minutes, that's the job they're looking for.
Bingo. And you can't blame them. They're doing exactly the same thing that every single
advertise for that service.
Right? That's what we do. So, we've been doing some advertising on things like, recruitment and those kind of things. Absolutely. But I actually took the personal opportunity to really make it all about brand, all about building our organic presence so that we can get rid of the third parties and be able to actually dominate in that space. And too many times dealers won't spend the money there because it's not the instant gratification, right? We don't get that instant gratification. So right now, it's still on your advertising budget. Take that money and put it in the place that they never put it, that will actually give them the best bang for the buck, which is the free down the road.
Okay, well, where are you putting this money, Matt Raymond?
So for us, we've done, when talking about building the brand and stuff like that, acquiring this many stores in the last couple of years, is we've gone out and done some billboard campaigns. And I know everybody goes,
billboards.
Yep.
Billboards?
Yeah, because the fun thing about billboards, and there's a whole out-of-home team out there, but billboards generate a lot of data, whether people believe it or not, because they're all geo-fenced, right? They all provide a longitude.
Totally ignorant about billboards. Totally ignorant. Damn, educate us.
Oh my goodness! So what we've done is we've gone out and gotten a couple billboards, and those billboards provide us data. You can grab what they call made data. Essentially people's cell phone data that comes through, and we run those audiences back into Facebook. We take those Facebook audiences and feed them the ads that they're seeing on the billboard, right? Because
what are they seeing on the billboard?
Service specials mainly. I mean, we can't advertise other than branding ourselves. We can't advertise new cars because it changes.
Exactly what do the billboards say?
So a couple of our billboards talk about being the like the high country Chevy team because we're in the high country. The other billboards are $29.95 oil changes, and then free diagnostic. We do free diagnostic at all of our stores. And what else? And we got collision centers. We just opened a collision center in one of our locations, and that one's a little catchy. It says, when you've hit everything but the lottery, come see us. It has a picture of a banged up car.
That's awesome.
I got something for you, the collision center. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready? When I was out west with the Bozarth organizations, we created a refrigerator magnet. You know those little round, the little flat refrigerator, about that big in the shape of a heart. And it says, let Bozarth Collision Center fix this damage with tender and loving care. And we gave one to all of our employees during the snowstorms. Anytime you saw damage on a vehicle, you slap that refrigerator magnet on it. Let Bozarth Collision Center fix this damage with tender, loving care and a phone number. And people took them and put them on the refrigerator. Those little refrigerator magnets generated so much business.
That's a great idea.
You like it?
I do like it. Nowadays you might get sued for touching somebody's car, but I like it.
Listen,
hurt the car. I mean, just a little.
Yeah, because it's a magnet. Yeah, I think you have a lot of people who probably would freak out. But then again, that's just even better. They're going to remember it because it was shocking.
They go home and put it on the refrigerator for their kids' coloring stuff, and it's in their face every day.
Yeah, that is way classier than what we used to do up in the thumb of Michigan, which was put a buck pole outside the collision center and offer to let them come and hang the deer after they hit it. So,
Oh, no.
way
That's
classier,
hilarious.
Jim.
So, Jim,
Okay.
I want to make 2 points, if you don't mind. The first point is that this is the time to really articulate why buy from us, right? And again, guys, you can do this on your own. You can go to majority of dealers' websites and
Or truly define it before you articulate it.
exactly truly define it on your website, right? And most dealers do not have it, or it's so vague. Like, we give you the best price for the trade. What does that mean? You know, best price for who? You know, for the dealer or for the client? You know, so they really need to define that. And like on the sidebar, I see Ariel says that this is the time to invest in the processes, right? Because the idea behind marketing and advertising is to drive more business. But when you are successful and you drive that business, whether it's the showroom or the service drive, and your people completely fail you, these are wasted dollars, right? And I'll give you a perfect example. You know, on Friday, I had a flat tire, right? So I called roadside assistance, 2 hours later they came in, and then I needed to get a new tire. So I called 3 Audi dealers around me. And these are allegedly one of the best Audi dealers in the country. So,
Wait a minute, did I see something on LinkedIn about that?
Yeah.
You were
This
like
is a true story. This happened to me this Friday.
You were like the Geico gecko. I have a flat tire.
Right. So I called the first dealer, right? And they said, well, let me transfer you to parts to see if the tire is in stock. No problem. Guess what? I'm going straight to voicemail. I'm calling next dealer. They say, well, it's 12 o'clock now. We might get the tire by 5 o'clock. However, our technicians go home at 5 o'clock. So nobody thought that, well, maybe we keep the technician 15 minutes extra, right? How long does it take to replace the tire? Maybe we put Max in a loaner, right? Because Max is desperate. Maybe we sell him not just the replacement tire, but wheel alignment, right? Maybe we put the car in a lift and he needs brakes, right? None of these thought processes, just none of it happened. They just said, listen, have a nice day, call us tomorrow. So
Max,
I ended up going.
Max, which Audi dealership was this?
Jack Daniels and
Oh my
Paul
God,
Miller.
not Jack Daniels.
and do
one of my
you know
clients.
how profitable an alignment is from an opcode perspective?
Right. And again, I am the best
Eye
customer.
switching.
I am
Was
the best
Jack
customer
Daniels
because
Audi?
I'm desperate and I need my car back.
Jack Daniels Audi?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
They
So
were
that's
one
my
of
point, Jim. So maybe this dealer spend a ton of money trying to drive service business, right? But this is what happens, right? If
I
Jack
know Mike
Daniels,
Daniels really well. Mike Daniels is going to have a heart attack when this broadcast gets out.
right? But this is a true story. This happened on Friday,
Debbie
and
and I
same
spent
goes
Christmas at
for
his
Paul
house.
Miller, right? Same goes for Paul Miller. So I ended up going to a Nissan dealership where the service manager said, we're not going to wait for the tire delivery at 5 o'clock. I'm going to send somebody to pick it up right now. Right? And they went, they got
The
it.
Nissan dealer picked up your Audi and helped you out when you were on the roadside.
That's right. Is
Now,
that
this
ridiculous or what?
This is a 1994 Audi, correct?
This is a 2021 Audi.
Well, I think that just goes to show. I mean, again, and it's the 2%. To be fair, Matt, I should have warned you. Max is going to call you utopian and a 2%er. Just
right.
Fair enough.
but there are a lot of these 2% that Max is talking about, but it's just the additional revenue stream are putting in
Wait a
mobile
second. This is my
service.
friend Mike Daniels, Jack Daniels Audi in Upper Saddle River, New Jersey, correct?
Yes, Jim, correct.
I thought it was, yeah.
Man, it's get in the van and go out there and do it.
A couple of years ago, Debbie and I actually spent Christmas Eve at his house. Oh God.
Yeah, you can't make this up. I'm telling you.
That's your point, though. I think your experience is actually the norm right now. And 1,000,000%, because it goes back to what I was saying. The reality is people don't have to. They're making a living. We can't replace them. So we're not letting people go. We're not holding people accountable. We're scared they're going to quit on us. And so at the end of the day, this is happening everywhere. I mean, the experience everywhere. I don't care who you're calling, what restaurant you're walking into. It's like when the pandemic happened, customer service went right out the window. And, I think the dealers who understand that customer service put the service back into customer service, and our customers will continue to come back to us. And that's the best branding anyone can do at all, is to take care of people right now. Right. But how are we going to go about that?
Let me make an announcement here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you tuned in this show to hear about advertising and marketing, Max just turned it into a customer service show.
We're talking about reallocating. If you think about this, now remember, I also consider a BDC to be an advertising expense, right? Mm-hmm. They are my first impression that my customers have. They're the ones that are bringing those leads to fruition. So I actually attribute that to advertising as well. But what we're talking about is reallocating, because I do think that dealers across the country pulled back in some areas just because they didn't have to. It's just like first of all, bad example, and Matt, you'll laugh back to even, your Toyota days. Like, you do not need to run an ad campaign on a Sequoia ever in the world. So if you don't need to run a campaign on something, why would you spend that money? But I think what we're missing, and because of the 98% sometimes are just in the right now and not thinking forward, is reinvesting that in your people or your process or your facility or local something, because it doesn't matter if you create a brilliant branding campaign on traditional, on digital. When they call into your dealership and your team is not as versed as your marketing director on what that message is, you just failed.
But we've got free coffee and Wi-Fi.
Right. Right.
No, I mean, Jen, you're 100% on with that. And like for us, our process is the same at every one of our 6 stores. Now, 5 of them are General Motors and 1 of them CDJR, but our process is the same. And when COVID hit and it wiped out some of our stores, we didn't shut down. We simply took those people, sent them home, put people in hotels, condos, whatever it might be. And they worked for the 10 days or whatever it was till somebody could come back. And then they left. And then they went back to their home store. And all we did was move people all around the state during COVID because our process was the same. We have the same CRM. We have the same DMS. It is all the same. And, you know, and I'll say one thing about the customer service side of things. As somebody that oversees our customer relations department also, our people are getting beat up. They're getting beat up by customers because customers are just cruel to a point. But if we do the same thing every way,
are cruel. I love that.
It's true.
You know,
listen, guys, it's payback time. 10,000 over sticker. You can be cruel all day long. You know?
But you know, for us, it's the process, right? And where one of the things we realized through COVID is that we're not for everybody, right? That's probably the biggest misunderstanding automotive has, is that they have to sell a car to everybody. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody wants to buy your brand.
Whoa.
Yeah. So just love the ones that love you and keep moving forward.
I love that. Customers are cruel. One thing.
Well, but there's a real point
when I
to
was in
that.
the car business, day in and day out, I
So
always tell my salespeople and my managers, hey, when a customer is really pounding on you, when a customer is unbelievably rude, you have to just think to yourself, I haven't got their money yet.
well, I think
I haven't got their money yet. Put that in your mind.
I mean, outside of customers being cruel, I think when we talk about, especially when everyone is in a difficult situation, and we're talking about marketing post-pandemic, right? That's the topic here. So not just in how your messaging has to change to get engagement from shoppers that are ready. And to mirror April, spot on. I've seen a jump in almost by an average of 23 days to sold across the board in internet opportunities in the stores that I work with.
So much longer.
Well, yeah, I mean, like before, it's crazy. I've had to bump what normally would be a 90-day process or a 6-month process to 12 or 3 months. It's insane just because it is so much longer. And I think that part is inventory availability and pricing, right? But in all of that, don't forget that we always get beat up, right? To Max's point, like it's not this 10 grand over sticker that gave us a bad reputation. Like we've been one of the most hated professions for a very long time. This coming from a girl with great hair color, so you wouldn't guess it, who's had to climb on the roof and get customers' keys off of it before. Like we did earn it, but I think your team, if you're not paying attention to your people right now, they could get to a point where they're basically not going to be able to produce because of the cruel customers, or the sales managers are yelling at them because their clothes isn't where it should be, but we don't have inventory. So when you have your marketing message and you're delivering it to your people, if you're not training them on it, or you're not preparing them to deal with some of this, and we get told no all the time, but it's a little bit rougher now. To Matt's point, I had a lady reach out to me recently, and I talk to anybody who wants to talk to me about stuff, and she had messaged me, and the question was, hey, we just keep getting beat up. I'm getting beat up by my sales managers because the customers don't want to come in for these appointments. I'm getting beat up by the customers because I don't have any cars. Like, I just don't know what to say anymore. And this is a very, very professional young lady who has great success working internet opportunities. But, I think that
transfer to service BDC immediately.
No, I just asked her. I said, well, what does your general manager say when a customer's beating him up about availability or pricing?
Jennifer, the Napleton Group just got fined $10 million.
Yeah, no big deal.
$10 million. I mean, and most of it were deceptive trade practices. Now, whether they're guilty or not guilty, I'm sure that's still in court, but even the fact that somebody thought they had deceptive trade practices should be a great concern to the entire industry, because most of it was on sales processes, F&I processes, adding products the customer didn't know they had, and false advertising. So advertising is the key here. April, what do you think?
It's tough. So, I always kind of play both sides on this one. In fact, there's been a lot of conversation. We had a couple stores get popped for false advertising just this week here in Arizona. So everybody's talking about it right now. It's hard because if everyone else is doing A and you don't participate, then you don't get the swing at the bat. So there's a fine line between you want to, be the new person who goes to B, and you want to be this fully transparent person, and you want to play in this kind of world over here. But ultimately, if you do, you may not even get a chance to have the conversation with the customer. So it's a really fine line. And that's where a lot of customer pushback is coming from, those marketing messages where we're still saying, hey, we'll give you top dollar. Oh, but we're not going to give you that much. Or, hey, we're going to give you a good deal. And then they're like, but you don't even have the car. How are you going to give me a good deal?
Here's the wording, April. We will pay off your car no matter how much you owe if we make a deal. If we make a deal, we will pay off your car no matter how much you owe. But the key word in that deceptive wording was if we make a deal.
Right. Because I'm going to roll it in.
But listen, guys,
deal
I got to say, from, compliance perspective, why are you doing it in this environment? You're bound to sell cars, even if you didn't want to.
A monkey with a note in his mouth can sell a car for $10,000 over.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. This one thing, if we roll back,
it's not worth the risk, is what Max is. We actually agree, Max.
Right. If you roll back the clock, right? You roll back the clock to 2019. You take Nissan, right? Because that's the best example I can give you with their insane stair-step programs, right? These guys will lowball the living hell out of each other, right? This is all deceptive advertising. I don't care where that Nissan dealership is located. Right, understandable. There's tons of inventory they have to move to hit the quota to get some back end money. Now, right, what is the point? This is the time. I work with dealers that advertise their cars $4,000 over sticker on Roadster without blinking an eye. Right, and they're not afraid to lose a deal, because if they lose a deal, that's fine. The guy who's going to sell them that car is going to run out of cars, and they're going to eventually come to them anyway.
Max, how long have you known me?
I want to say 12 years.
12 years. Have I always said we could hold these grosses? Have I always said the customers would pay it?
Yeah, but I'm saying now, right, we don't need even training. We're just going to have the car.
Max, have I always said that the customers would pay the money?
Yes.
I believe the phrase is full price is fair price.
I've always said full price is fair. How many years? There are videos online right now of me doing a speech 15 years ago when I was 300 pounds. I'm doing a speech. I can't get the speech off the video, off the internet, because I don't own it. Somebody else shot it. I mean, I would take it off. I'm teaching the Foursquare.
Right. Right. That's a felony.
I don't teach that shit anymore, folks. It's got over 1 million views.
Listen, it's all in proper context, Back then, that was the way,
I don't teach that anymore.
So I think, to Max's point here, and to tie into what Matt was saying, you're just going to create undue stress on your team by advertising a message like that when you don't need that traffic right now. And we're talking about things that you should be doing if you're in the 98% that Max likes to pick on, things you should be doing that are executable, right? Looking at your own database. your first party data and make sure that you have a great process for loyalty and retention. What is your retention number? Not just for the next car, but also for service. You can start there, layering that data in. And I think for us that have been in the 2%, we've already been moving away from some of those more expensive, lower returning things like the third-party platforms or even paid search for that matter. Start looking at more cost-effective ways. If you're paying $4 to get somebody to your website, for them to be on for like a minute and 3 seconds, not convert, that might not be the best use of that money. You could get that same person with a different type of ad campaign for 50
You can
cents.
build your business profiles, your Google business profiles.
Well, that too, yeah, definitely organic. Like at this part, I'm just talking about on paid side of the house, because I think there are a lot of partners who have had overinflated CPCs for whatever it might be. If they don't know how to optimize, they don't want to give the work to optimize. That's why I think bringing this stuff in-house is so much better, because your team is worried about your profitability, not the agency worrying about their profitability.
That's Matt Raymond. You know, when you talk about your group bringing it all in-house, and your group is the epitome of if I think ethics, I think Team Automotive. You know, I mean, the Dillards, Kristen, is all about a high ethic for your company.
Yeah.
You don't think Napleton?
Well, Jim, to give you an idea, I mean, we have a compliance officer on staff. His sole job is to visit every dealership and make sure that everything's in compliance. Because we can't be thinking about these things after the fact, right? And I think that goes to, I think it was April that was kind of hitting on that, right? Do we play in this sandbox? Do we play in that sandbox? How do we not fall behind? We one of our core values is does the right thing, right? That's it, plain and simple. Yeah. What do? We do the right thing. If we do the right thing, we don't have to worry about anything else. And, you know, and that's coming from somebody that worked at a Toyota store for 8 years and started in sales through BDC and all the way up through the marketing. What I can tell you from dealing with a lot of Toyota, and this is in Northeast PA, so you're competing against New York, New Jersey, and those guys. If we had the car, somebody would rather come to the local dealer than drive 250 miles to save $250. The difference is the value sell. And I'm not talking free coffee and Wi-Fi. It's getting on the phone and making them realize that, hey, you're going to spend money here, and I appreciate it. We love you for it. Whatever we can do to help you out, you know, and go on. This whole thing of race to the bottom, sure, you can get somebody from California to buy your car and you can ship it to them and everything else. But at the end of the day, people want to stay local. You know,
well, you advertise core values. I mean,
yes,
I have become immersed in what you do. You know, the Team Automotive, and this is all Kristen Dillard. I mean, you know, her father is retired in effect. She is running that show. I mean, and this is her values, core values, and you teach core values and you advertise core values. The consumers know that core values runs your company. Am I misstating that?
You're 100% right. And, you know, and Kristen is 100% the owner. And, you know, we have our executive team. There's 5 of us that sit on it. We spent 2.5 days in a room just grinding out these 5 core values that define us. And then we built our processes around it. You know, we hire, fire, and coach by those core values. And now we've taken a marketing meeting and we've now gone from customer service into our core values. But it is who we are, because so many times in automotive, you see, if you treat your people well, they'll treat your customers well. And this goes all the way back to what I was saying when I called customers cruel, and maybe I should apologize for that. But our people follow our core values. And when a customer decides to lose their mind on a service advisor, you know what? Then maybe we're not the right people for you. And we're all right, because you know what? We can go home at night and sleep knowing we did the right thing. But we've also had a lot of customers that have turned to 180 and said, you know what? I'm a real big jerk, or usually it's their
my blood sugars are low, so it's my bad.
Well, I got a tip for you. Hey, in every one of your service departments, the service manager's office should have a bathroom-sized mirror behind the service manager. People will not be assholes when they see themselves in the mirror.
Right. Yeah, it's a reaction.
See themselves in the mirror behind the service manager. So you have a heat case. You take the heat case into the service manager's office. they see themselves in the mirror and they calm down and get nice.
So, but I want to take this opportunity to segue these core values back to the organics that we were talking about earlier. And again, we've seen so many shifts and changes to what Jim was hinting at, to your Google business profile. And there's, I mean, even more changes that they're working on right now, but we don't see enough people using this the way Google wants you to. It's not just a directory listing. It hasn't been since 2014 when they merged the social media with it. But if you're not actively using every opportunity that the #1 search engine in the world gives you to tell the local business, this is what they want. They want you to use this to tell local shoppers about you as a company, about your product, about your people, your team, and who you are and how you engage with the community. So if you're not and I love that they're doing the core values, because that is a real why buy. Why should you buy from us is more than just we've been in business for 92 years and we're family owned and X number of acres of cars. It's more than that. You have to give me that value. But when I look across the country, people are still totally ignoring the #1 organic platform to tell people about that. I mean, honestly, if you separate that out and look at your web traffic, most cases, it's more than your regular organic entrances to pages, guys, and we're totally ignoring it as an industry.
Yeah, but Jennifer, we're ignoring many things. We're ignoring basics like putting pictures of our employees on Meet the Team page.
Right.
Well, that's
We can go into a long story about that, right?
Max, when I go to a Meet the Team page and I see a bunch of silhouettes that are not even photographs of the people, and people that are not there any longer still on the team page. The Meet the Team is one of the most important pages on the dealer's website and one of the most neglected.
Yeah, but honestly, though, if we're going to talk about data, right? Because we said, let's talk about data. That is not a lot of traffic on that page.
You and your data. Okay.
But there's not. Now, you could build a product segment called team members on your Google business page and put it there, and more people would see it than on your staff page on your website.
But the point is that if you don't build it on your website, you're not going to build it on your Google page, right? Because like Ben Stock says,
I mean, I work on dollars and cents. So I'd probably put on Google first.
Coma, right? And when you're in profit coma, none of it matters, right? None of it matters.
Well,
but now is when it's supposed to matter, right? Like right now is when
right.
you have the time, you have the money to do it right now, right? We all have time, we all have money. Like, let's do it right now. But to go back and kind of summarize everybody's stuff, Matt said, figure out your core values. Well, the way that I go about figuring out core values is I go back to the steps of the sale. And this is always, old school April, right? Right behind the meet and the greet. What are you supposed to do? Sell yourself, sell the dealership. Well, how are you building rapport? And not only do you have why buy on your website, as Max has said, but you should also have why service, right? So service is a really neglected.
What a great, yes. Why service?
It's not just why should you buy from us, but why should you service with us? And then that message, to Jennifer's point, if it's not in your Google My Business, we're seeing a lot more of the zero click. They're not even getting to your website. So if your Google My Business page is not doing as good or not a better job, that gatekeeper you're not even getting them to your website. So you need to make sure that those same messages of why buy and why service are in your Google business profile. And then guess where else it should be? In all of your social platforms. If you're not putting that messaging in your social platforms, where those customers are, where you're starting to advertise, and your organic page has none of that messaging in it, then you're missing the boat. So you need to make sure why buy, why service, that rapport building stuff is not just in your website for both sales and service, but in your Google My Business and all social platforms.
Yeah,
that is what we should be spending our time and money right now doing. Build your foundation.
Now, Trish Kashora with the Preston Automotive Group, I have consulted that group for 20 years. She says her staff, and she's on top of her stats.
Hey, Trish, and you're going to be in like the 0.02% of dealers that can make that statement.
Okay. All right. She says her staff page usually comes in third
on page views on your sites.
Right.
And we're talking about entrances too. We're talking about that organic traffic that you're getting. But yeah, interactive on Meta for sure. Think about this, guys. We look at other service-based industries. And for a long time, I've said, like, we don't sell cars. Cars are a commodity. We're selling ourselves. We're selling the dealership. And you can book, like I just booked an appointment for John for a beard trim. Right. There's this from the website or from the profile. They have this whole booking engagement. We can watch videos. We can see their whole gallery by artist, because they're not barbers, right? They're, this guy was called, he was the beard professor or something that we ended up booking, or open table. Perfect example. We're so used to being able to see these things in the palm of our hand to be able to make those selections. And I'm not saying your staff page isn't important, but from organic entrances to gather those local folks or shoppers, it's not going to capture them in like Google Business will. But the one thing that is important is when consumers are looking to eliminate a dealer, they are going to look at that page. They're going to see, is there anybody that looks like I actually want to do business? Because people choose where to spend their money. Like if you're not doing a great job, to Matt's point, of making them feel valued in your communication, they're going to choose somebody that looks like them or that they like, or they have something in common, because we like to do business with people that we know and like. It's just a thing.
How many dealers are doing promotions today? When I was in the car business actively, and when I was consulting car dealerships, we devised promotions. And it always amazed me. Let's pretend that we don't have a vehicle shortage. Let's pretend that everything is back the way it used to be. And we have flowing inventory. Everything's good. I mean, and I see dealerships that are advertising big sale. And you get to the dealership and it doesn't look like a big sale. Matter of fact, you look around, there's no table toppers. Where's the big sale? I mean, everybody walking around looking pissed off with his Bart Simpson faces,
Right, not managing expectations.
Nobody in the dealership looks happy. They all got those Bart Simpson faces, And I'm thinking, damn, where's the promotion? And
Well, Jim, there's a helium shortage too. Sorry about that.
I don't know about y'all, but we still got balloons. Okay. Big sales happening in the showroom. We just
went to plastic sticks that you don't need helium for.
Where's the wavy arm guy in the gorilla? I mean,
But to kind of chase that down the rabbit hole, I mean, automotive has always been like big sales, like wavy arm guy, gorilla and stuff. At the end of the day, to Jen's point with, being a commodity and stuff, hey, we have vehicles. We're here to help. How can we assist you? And we're not like, I use Chick-fil-A, right? Chick-fil-A provides great service, but they don't have some wavy arm guy out there. Every so often you get a cow dancing around, but moving on. But at the end of the day,
they do have a cow dancing around. Come on now.
but at the end of the day, like if we did a whole focus group at the previous dealership I was at, and we spent over 4 hours with people, and they didn't know we were automotive. They thought it was furniture and all this other stuff. And the one thing that came out of it, what people talked about with automotive was, do you have the car? Can I drive the car? And could I buy it and leave with it the same day? They felt like if you were going to give money to a charity, it never went there. They felt like if it was a special interest rate, they would never qualify. And they felt like if it was a big discount, it wasn't really big enough or true, or there was a catch. So at the end of the day, do we have the car? I mean, this is our thing, right car, right price right now,
right car, right price right now.
Right.
No promotion that goes with that. I mean, the gorilla, no gorilla on the roof, no wavy arm guy, no country band on a flatbed truck with Elvis impersonator.
No, and I mean, think of the timeshare industry, right? They're successful even today. I mean, you Google timeshare, there's hate throughout the entire internet on it, and they're still successful. Why are they successful? Because their process is so dialed in, and they put you into a process. They meet and greet. They got a hell of a meet and greet. They put you into process, and at the end of it all, there's some sort of reward there for somebody, right?
Yeah, but even they rebranded back during the last recession, not as timeshares, as vacation clubs.
That's true.
They reinvested the last time their market gave them an opportunity to do that and rebranded.
That's true. And they got away from weeks for people and went to
Sounds
points.
so
Then you
much
can use
better.
it anywhere,
Vacation club.
you know, but
What a great show. What a great show. I mean, it's too bad it didn't pick up till the second half. The second half we all got animated and the caffeine kicked in. Yeah. What a great show. We've been on for 1 hour. Max, was it as good for you as it was for me?
It was outstanding for me.
Fantastic. Did you have a good time, Matt?
absolutely great time.
April, what do you think?
Always great. Love the conversation. Thanks, Jim.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got another dog pound and we're going to have to get this crew back. You know, this is a good balance, great balance. But anyway, look for the Dog Pound every Tuesday on this channel, 2:00. It'll be all over social media. Forward this on to your friends and share this page. Let's get this broadcast built up. Everybody wave goodbye. Everybody wave goodbye to the audience.
Oh, do we do this, Jen?
Yep. I practice it.